the arrival of Magic the Gathering Foundations, there are now quite some new fun and strong looking commanders that we get to choose from. One of these new legendary creatures took my interest and is also creating a lot of buzz online, and I'm talking about Koma World Eater, or how I'd like to call it, Koma Cosmos Serpent on steroids. This new Koma also sets you back 7 mana, and you can also not counter this like its predecessor, but it has a stronger stat line of 8 power and 12 toughness. But that was obviously not enough, because it also has Trample and Ward 4. Combine that with the main ability of making 4 3/3 tokens whenever Koma deals combat damage to a player, and you've got yourself a powerhouse of a commander. Little side note, I'm not entirely sure what the creator of this card was on, but hit me up, because I really want some. So if you do like our content, please consider subscribing and liking this video. We've noticed that about 97% of you haven't subscribed yet, so you can really help us by doing that. This deck is what Simic is all about. Plenty of ramp and counter spells with some big creatures to trample over our opponents. A classic landfallish control deck that takes over as soon as we drop Koma. Since Koma is a card that can just win by itself, we're going to be doing a lot of ramping, stalling our opponents and having some protection for Koma, even though the Ward 4 itself is already a pain in the ass. So let's take a look at the deck. We're running an abundance of ramp, because we need to get to 7 mana as fast as possible. Some notable cards here are this big ass island, because it can also turn into a 12/12 body in the late game. We have Overlord of the Mistmoors, because dropping a 6/5 with Impeding on turn 3 will give us the Everywhere land, which ramps us, and then later on we get a big body that can also block. Sakura Tribe Elder and Solemn Simulacrum, because they're also bodies, and it's nice to have these bodies early on, so we can throw them in front of an attacker and keep our life total healthy. Oh yeah, and of course we run Sol Ring. Of course we're also running landfall cards, and I think we run basically all the classics there are. I especially would like to mention Tireless Provisioner and Lotus Cobra, because these really get us to our commander faster. And Royal Elemental, because it's always fun to take over your opponent's commanders. Since we're in blue, it would be a crime not to play 1 or 2 counter spells, so that's why I put in 7. The most notable ones and the best ones are Fierce Guardianship and Mana Drain. Fierce Guardianship because when we drop Koma, we can still cast this even if we don't have mana up, because it's free whenever your commander's on the battlefield. And Mana Drain is just a great counter spell because you get to interrupt your opponents in like turn 3 or 4, and that will also ramp you towards your commander the next turn. For protection, we run both Boots and an Heroic Intervention and Tameo Safekeeping for when our opponents decide to pay the Ward 4 and target our commander, or just play board wipe. So onto the removal. We all know Beast Within, Cyclonic Rift and Reclamation Sage. Whelming Wave might be new for a couple of you. This is a perfect card in our deck because we really only care about Koma and the tokens it makes. And it's a great way to stall the game long enough by making everybody rebuild. And in the late game, it's just a great way to get rid of everything while we keep Koma and their tokens. Quick side note here, of course our counter spells can also be used as removal. We don't mind having mana open early on, so saving counter spells for problematic spells is absolutely fine. We also do need some card draw, of course. We're not playing commander for no reason. We have Ponder and Brainstorm to draw and even get rid of some cards we might not want in our hand or on top of our library. With Brainstorm we'll have to pair it with a shuffle effect like Evolving Wilds or Misty Rainforest to actually get rid of the top of our library then, but that's absolutely fine. We have Elemental Bond because whenever Koma's ability triggers we straight up draw 4 cards. We have Enduring Curiosity from Duskmourn. It's a fairly new card and I really like it because it's also a body and it doesn't matter if it dies, so we don't care if we chump with it early on. We have Kindred Discovery, obviously naming serpents because Koma and the tokens it makes are serpents. Then Return of the Wild Speaker. It's a draw 8 with Koma on board, but we can also choose to just buff our creatures if we just want to close out the game. And we have the One Ring, well yeah, because it's the One Ring. Onto the token doublers. We're running 5 of them, and you probably know all of these. Maybe Spawning Kraken is new to you, and the reason we have it in here is because it also triggers whenever Koma or its tokens deal combat damage. Now, since we also have some lands in here that can sacrifice, we do have 2 pieces of land recursion with Ramunap Excavator and Walking Closet. It's a nice combo to keep playing lands from our graveyards later on if we don't draw any lands anymore. And since Ramunap is also a body, we don't mind throwing it in front of something just to keep our life total high earlier, because we don't really care if this dies anyway. Then, 3 cards I would like to give a special mention because they can basically win the game instantly or very fast at least. Crater of Behemoth buffs all our Coilies and gives them trample. Overwhelming Stampede, which is a very solid +8/+8 to all our creatures if a Koma is on board. And we have Spark Double because you know what's better than 1 Koma? It's 2 Komas. Lastly, we have 2 tutors in this deck. Now let me just straight up say that you don't really need to play these. I just like to play these because they're basically copies of your best card in your deck. And whether you need protection for Koma or you want a Crater Hoof to close out the game, these are just basically copies of it, right? Now, obviously there are many ways you can build this deck and probably cards I missed that maybe should have made the cut. This deck can also be extremely budget friendly if you decide to build it on the budget, because all the expensive cards can easily be replaced without really hurting the core of what this deck wants to do. As always, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit the like button, hit the sub button, make sure to hit the bell notifications so you never miss content from Tipsy Goat. Let us know in the comments which card you might want to add to this deck that I forgot, and we're gonna see you in the next one.